Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And while you're at it, if you are sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game, stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create your wrestler, sign contracts, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family and you want your name in the shoutouts, like our buddies Harold in St. Louis and Mike in Lansdale, then make sure you shoot over to our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ProWrestlingPodcast, and sign up today. We have loyalty rewards for our Patreon members. Any $15 a month contributor gets the opportunity to co-host one of our live episodes with me, and our $7.50 a month contributors get entered into a drawing to also co-host an episode of one of our live shows. So, hello everybody, and welcome to this live episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. Tonight, fresh off the NXT TakeOver event this evening, and live right now, Bellator MMA 214 waiting on the arrival of Jake Hager to make his mixed martial arts debut. It's a big night in the world of pro wrestling. It's a cool night in the world of mixed martial arts, and we're a night before the road to WrestleMania gets kicked off with the Royal Rumble. Before we go any further, if you are new to the Pro Wrestling Podcast, make sure you go to our homepage at FroWrestling.com, where you can preview the topics that are coming to our episodes. It's a great way to come up with questions, comments, anything you'd like to talk about. And if you're with us when we're streaming live, like right now, enable the chat function. Whatever streaming service you're using, get us your comments. Tell us who you are so we can give you credit for your comment, and we'll address your questions, comments, and concerns right here on a live episode. If you are shy, you don't want to get on live, that's all cool. You want to send in your questions anyways, we got a way for those people to get through to us as well. It's the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160. Call. It is our talk to text service. You talk, it texts what you say to us, and we could try to get to anything you wanted to talk about on one of our upcoming episodes. In the end, we want to hear from all of our fans. We are trying to get to 1,500 weekly subscribers to the podcast. Spread the word, get the word out there. We would love to hear from all of you and get to see you guys tuning in every single week. So, topics for this episode. This is the big Royal Rumble prediction episode. I'm also going to go over the current betting odds for all the matches at the Royal Rumble. We're going to talk about some other conversations about the Rumble, some potential Rumble surprises, an interesting alumni who's going to be in town for the Rumble. But before we get into all the Rumble news, let's have a conversation about some other things in the world of wrestling going on right now. Ronda Rousey has been discussed at length this week, almost at nauseum, and it's not anything against Ronda Rousey. The reality of the situation is this. Ronda Rousey came to WWE last year. She came into a thunderstorm of attraction from mass media, and she really made an impact in a very short amount of time, capturing the Raw Women's Championship. And really, she's done so many things in such a brief run with WWE. And then earlier this week, news broke that she may be leaving WWE. She and Travis Brown, her husband, have an interest in starting a family, having kids, all that kind of fun stuff. And I get it. But at the same time, she has a contract. So after the story broke that Ronda Rousey was potentially leaving WWE, some people happened to say, hey, hold on a minute. You know, you'll find out that Brian Alvarez, Ryan Satin, if you go to F4W online and catch up with all the latest news in the world pro wrestling world, you'll find out that her contract runs through 2021. This was not a short-term investment by WWE. It was a 3-year contract. Now, if she wants to go start a family, much in a similar fashion to Brie Bella when she left to have Birdie, it's possible for them to allow her to take time away from the sport, go start her family, but I don't envision, and nor does any authority in the world of professional wrestling, not that I'm an authority, but you follow what I'm saying, no one has the opinion that she's looking to leave the world of professional wrestling right now. What it looks like is she's much more interested in taking some time for her personal life and then coming back to the sport. She seems to really be enjoying her time in WWE, and I really don't buy that she'll be gone after WrestleMania. That was the word. I think that perhaps what they'll do, keep her around at WrestleMania. I expect her to lose the Raw Women's Championship. I expect her to defeat Sasha Banks tomorrow night. I'm actually hoping they have a match of the year candidate quality match. I expect that all the time from Sasha Banks. Ronda's still getting her grips about being a top-level performer. But let's face it, with as limited amount of training as she's had, she's done a very respectable job holding her position in WWE. So I'm very excited to see what they do tomorrow night. I think that, and I'm not trying to shatter my prediction part of the show, but I think I and many people are very confident in who's going to come out on top of that match. And then heading into WrestleMania, again, you'll hear from my prediction episode who I think is going to win. I think that will be the person to unseat Ronda Rousey and take the Raw Women's Championship and give her her first real defeat. I know this one this past week on Raw, they're saying she's her first loss because she was in a tag team match. That's not the same thing, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm very interested in who wins the Women's Royal Rumble tomorrow night, seeing what the program looks like on paper ahead of time. We've all speculated for months. Some people said Becky Lynch, some people say Charlotte Flair, some say it's going to be a combination of both. Other people now are starting to talk about other options to come out and be the one to end her streak. I don't necessarily see that happening. So that gives you a little bit of a clue into who the people are who I think may be the ones to do it. However, I think after WrestleMania, I see no reason that she wouldn't come back and have the blow-off match, a rematch, at the following month's pay-per-view, and then go off and take some time for her own personal ambitions, which is perfectly understandable and acceptable. Look, it's something she has made very clear since before she even came to WWE, she wanted to start a family, and more power to her. I think that's something that will happen, but I don't expect her to be done with WWE. As a matter of fact, she's had so much fun. I expect her to be with them long beyond the 2021 season. I think what'll end up happening is she'll do very similar to like Brock Lesnar, The Rock, people of that nature who show up for sporadic appearances that mean something. At some point, to be perfectly honest with you, I would love at next year's WWE Evolution pay-per-view, I would love to see her come in and have a match with Trish Stratus. Now, of course, if she's starting a family, that's not going to happen, but that's a match I feel like should really happen at some point. Moving forward, the WrestleMania without The Undertaker. Anybody who was on ProWrestling.com this week noticed that was coming up in this discussion. But right now, the word in the Wrestling Observer newsletter and several other media outlets is indicating there is no match currently planned for The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Now, this could be a lot of things at play here. There is some advertising for some local shows and such that have The Undertaker advertised. As a matter of fact, earlier in the week, they had him advertised as a WWE Hall of Famer. I suppose that could have spoiled him going into the Hall of Fame this year, which would not surprise me. At the same time, I can't see him not coming to this show after doing the Greatest Royal Rumble and Crown Jewel. I think it would be silly for his last match to have been at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. It almost feels like when he had that long undefeated streak, it's only fitting that his career end at WrestleMania. The word has always been this year would be the last year, that The Undertaker would show up to WrestleMania this year, and this would be his big send-off. Now, there was some rumblings about him doing a rematch with John Cena, something that could be more planned out and much more substantial than last year. I don't see that happening. A lot of people have been talking about the Lars Sullivan John Cena opportunity, which I think they're still going to try to make that happen. But who do you put him against? And the reality of the situation is I really think that tonight at NXT TakeOver, we may have gotten the answer to that question. Can you imagine The Undertaker coming out on, say, Raw or SmackDown and announcing that he has no match for Mania because there's no substantial, suitable, or whatever competitor for him to face at Mania? And I'll propose two options for who could do the service of being The Undertaker's final match. One is a match that people have dreamt about for years and years and years. The other, relatively new concept. And here's what I would do. One, you could bring back Goldberg for that one-off appearance. The man to end The Undertaker's in-ring career and also end his own. Both of the wrestlers, they clear that they can't be doing this forever. You know Goldberg would fully invest in a Undertaker program. He's been very vocal about wanting that in the past. But that would be a program that I think WWE would not find it hard to sell to people as an attraction. And I think the physicality that both of these men could put on would really work. You know, The Undertaker at Crown Jewel looked like almost like a shell of himself. It wasn't the same Undertaker that you grew up watching. However, when he's in the ring one-on-one, he doesn't have to do a lot of big fancy stuff. Let's face it, Goldberg is not a big fancy wrestler to begin with. I think they could put something very special on. So that would be my first choice. I think, a lot of people have talked about AJ Styles. I don't think they're going to go there. I think they have a plan for AJ Styles. Rumor has it against Randy Orton. So I'm not even going to consider that one. My other choice would be after tonight's NXT TakeOver, the arrival of Aleister Black to the main roster to challenge The Undertaker for a match at WrestleMania. I think the match would sell. NXT, though it is not Raw or SmackDown, has an incredible following. And it seems as though if you pay attention to the debuts of wrestlers who come up from NXT and make it to the main roster, they are brought in with such fanfare. I understand mass media doesn't necessarily tune into NXT, but wrestling fans who are in the arenas do. The WWE Network has grown and grown exponentially from its introduction, and now it's at a point where I truly believe that Aleister Black would be a perfect opportunity to go against The Undertaker. He's someone who could actually lose to The Undertaker and still maintain momentum. He could win against The Undertaker, get the rub, and really catapult his career, almost taking over for The Undertaker, moving forward with his career as The Undertaker rides off into the sunset. I don't know how The Undertaker celebrates it being his last match this time. He can't really take off any more clothing than he already did the first time, so, we'll have to see how they celebrate the career of The Undertaker, unless he announces it ahead of time, letting everybody know this is it. And I'd be okay with that. I have so much respect and love and admiration for The Undertaker. It will be very sad to see him leave the business, but I think at some point in time, reality has to set in, and he can't go on forever. So I think that this will be the last year. I don't see it in the plans right now, but it doesn't mean we're not going to get a match. I think at some point in time, we will get the announcement of a match for The Undertaker at WrestleMania 35. Some other news that broke this week was the Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega both almost signing with Impact Wrestling, both having substantial offers on the table from Impact Wrestling and choosing not to go there. Which is a little bit strange if you think about it, because at the time, according to Chris Jericho, at the time he was given the offer, he had not signed with All Elite Wrestling, and that wasn't even a done deal. He still could have gone back to WWE. He hadn't received their financial offer, didn't know how substantial it was going to be, and it's almost shocking he didn't go to Impact. And I feel like after some of the tension, after he went and did the match with Kenny Omega, and then went on to face Naito, and then was going to be facing Evil, didn't show up at Crown Jewel, I think that he felt in some way committed to Vince McMahon to a point that he didn't really want to have to go wrestle for the competitor. And then when All Elite Wrestling comes along and offers the ridiculous money that apparently they've offered, it only makes sense for him to go ahead and do that, especially with the level of flexibility they're willing to offer him for his band Fozzy and other outside projects, the Wrestling Rager at Sea, etc. So, and they're going to let him continue to working with New Japan Pro Wrestling, which they know there's a program there with Hiroshi Tanahashi at some point. I expect Tanahashi will defend his championship against Jay White at some point. I don't expect Jay White to win. And then I think that Chris Jericho will be the one to step up and face Tanahashi. I don't know if they would give him their championship, but I would not be surprised if they did. I would actually be in favor of them doing that, because I think it really legitimizes their world championship when a former WWE World and World Heavyweight and WWE champion takes their championship. I think that's just credibility for their championship. Right now, most of the people who've held the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship have been New Japan Pro Wrestling, I don't want to say talents, but they've spent substantial time in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Chris Jericho's been there a year, and the bulk of his career is outside of New Japan. Yeah, he had some tinkering around when he was really young, but his big impact in the wrestling world is WCW and WWE. So for him to go there and take the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, I think that is only fitting that they give him an opportunity to run with that title if it's at all possible. And with All Elite Wrestling allowing him to work there, I think they would be more than happy to let that belt appear on their own programming, which could only enhance the North American expansion of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I think it's a win-win for all sides. So I expect that to happen. When it comes to Kenny Omega, little surprised that he didn't go and at least consider Impact Wrestling more, but when you think about the relationship he has with Cody, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page, Marty Scurll, I think they've wanted to do this together for a very long time, probably even before All In. I think they really had high expectations for All In, and when All In was such a success, I think it was like a foregone conclusion that Kenny Omega was going to go with them to All Elite Wrestling. Now, WWE made their pitch. A seven-figure offer. Rumor has it $3.5 million offer. I'm shocked he didn't take it. I think that's more out of making a decision with his heart than it is with his wallet, which is admirable. But I think it's just a matter of time till we hear that he's announced to have signed with All Elite Wrestling, probably February 1st. First day he's a free agent. And hopefully, we'll get some clarity on that. But the fact that Impact Wrestling was in the ballpark and trying to make a play for some major superstars, that's great news for the Impact Wrestling roster and for their future. Let's face it, that's a company that seems to get swept under the rug and gets very little attention from the wrestling universe. Like Ring of Honor, New Japan, even Lucha Underground are very much embraced by wrestling fans around the world. Impact has always been like the bastard child that gets no respect, and that's in reality, they're putting on some of the best programming they've had in a very long time. And they deserve, some new, fresh views. If you haven't tuned into their product, you may be missing out on some amazing, amazing action. So, good to see they're going for some talent. Hopefully they get some marquee free agents at some point and really bolster that roster, because they really, at this point, the level of programming they're putting out, the creativity Don Callis is putting together with Scott D'Amore, they're really doing a great job. So hopefully Impact Wrestling can nail down some other free agents since they lost out on Jericho and Omega. Impact Wrestling, speaking of, they have a star leaving the company, and that is Matt Sydal. His contract ran out on January 1st. He has offers from WWE and All Elite Wrestling. If you're Matt Sydal, what do? You've been to almost every major company there is in the world. New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, WWE. He was in WCW. Brief stint with Lucha Underground. But this is an opportunity right now because of the heated free agent market and the arrival of All Elite Wrestling and the financial backing that All Elite Wrestling has. You know that WWE, if they're making an offer, it's going to be a substantial one because they don't want to lose any talents to All Elite Wrestling. And if you're Matt Sydal, you've already been in WWE when he was Evan Bourne, and his career, though it wasn't as a resounding success as I'm sure he would like, was not a horrible fit. Now, if you remember, for those who are longtime fans of Matt Sydal, he ended up getting a horrible foot injury, and I think that more than anything led to his release from WWE, and now there's an opportunity for him to go back there. There's a 205 Live division. There's a lot of other offerings in WWE that could really appeal to him. However, the opportunity to participate in this life-changing, company and WWE universe and industry-changing new company, All Elite Wrestling, may be too alluring, especially if they're going to make offers the way they did to people like Chris Jericho. Now, I don't expect WWE to necessarily double the offer to Matt Sydal because he's not that much of a proven superstar, but he does have some appeal. So if you're WWE, I would definitely make him a substantial offer. Try to bring him into the fold. It's all about legitimizing a product. It makes 205 Live or wherever they put him more legitimate because he really is a world-traveled veteran at this point. He's been everywhere. He's wrestled every kind of wrestler. Big, small, heavy, skinny, aerial stuff, power wrestlers. He's done it all. So it'd be interesting to see how he would fit into the plans no matter where he ends up. But I actually expect him to go to All Elite Wrestling, and I think that's a good decision for him. One little tidbit for WWE, there's conversation about a new 3-man stable on SmackDown, which I am very much in favor of. They're talking about bringing, in case anybody hasn't been following my show, other shows, other news outlets, Sin Cara has been out with injury for several months. Rey Mysterio is back, and he's doing great on SmackDown, and he just is finishing up a program with Andrade, formerly Cien Almas, and now they're talking about taking those 3 talents and putting them together in like a Latin American stable of sorts, 3-man stable, which would be great for a feud with the New Day. I think you get, the whole Kofi Kingston versus Rey Mysterio dynamic would be interesting. I think that if you take Andrade and have him in there with Xavier Woods, now of course Big E dwarfs Sin Cara, but at least it gives you something new to look at. And I think it's an exciting opportunity. It's an interesting proposition. So I'd be in favor of seeing this, and it gives Rey Mysterio an opportunity to still be on television, but not necessarily have to wrestle every single week. You still get that star power, that drawing power, but you give him a break every once in a while because you don't want to beat him down. You want to keep Rey as long as possible, even potentially bringing in his son at some point for a future generational talent. So I think the offer to have this 3-man stable would be a great one, but I think more than anything, it's a great way to, one, feature a talent like Andrade, who's very upset with his contract, apparently. There was conversations about him warning other wrestlers, Rush from Mexico and others, Bandito, about signing with WWE, so they ended up not signing. I think that's part of why WWE would be interested in pushing him. But this would give him something to do to showcase his talents, give Rey Mysterio an opportunity to not have to be in the ring all the time. And if you're going to have them lose matches, I hate to say it, but Sin Cara being in the group gives you somebody who can get beaten and you don't hurt anybody else's character. I mean, it's just the way I would look at it from a booking standpoint. So for those who are tuned in, by the way, if you're online live right now looking at the Bellator pay-per-view, Jake Hager, formerly Jack Swagger of WWE, is about to enter the cage. He's getting ready for his bout tonight. We're wishing him well. Nothing like seeing a professional wrestler go to the octagon and have a great showing. We're really pulling for him to knock this guy out in the first round. Nothing against him. I just would like to see Jake Hager come out with a early round knockout victory in his first appearance. So, turning our attention to the big show tomorrow night, the WWE Royal Rumble. The road to WrestleMania starts tomorrow night. There are some really interesting people in Arizona for the Rumble. Kurt Angle is there. He made a return at a house show recently. Would not be surprised to see him in the Rumble. Only 20 entrants have been announced. That leaves 10 spots. By the way, I'm watching the Jake Hager fight while we're broadcasting live, and he's got the We the People logo blaring on the screen as he's making his entrance to the cage. I think that's awesome. I'm sure WWE's probably livid about it, but I think it's awesome that he's doing that. He's coming out with the pose and everything, hand over the heart. What an awesome kind of thumb in the eye of WWE for not believing in this guy and paying this guy and giving him a better opportunity. But back to the Royal Rumble, I think that if you look at the people who are in Arizona, there's some really unique opportunities there. We said about Kurt Angle. Christian is in town. He is not there to film for the Edge and Christian podcast, and I know he's been retired for some time now. I know it's not likely he would do anything substantial, but I could easily see him coming in, throwing a few punches, get a few shots in, make that huge pop, that huge reaction for him returning, and then getting eliminated pretty quickly. Still protecting him, because you don't want to take a chance on him getting a concussion. That was the concern with him in the past. He's had so many concussions that's why he ended up leaving the world of professional wrestling. But I think it would be awesome to see him get in the ring. People like Hornswoggle are in town. The Big Show is there. Eric Rowan is there. I think they'll hold off on Rowan because Harper did not get cleared on Tuesday when he was observed. So I think they're going to hold them off till after the Royal Rumble when he does get cleared so they could come back together as a tag team. Bray Wyatt, Matt Hardy, several stars could be making big appearances at the Royal Rumble who are not already booked in other matches. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because we all have theories on who's going to win, and none of those special surprises are going to. I would love to see somebody like Rob Van Dam. I'm actually kind of surprised All Elite Wrestling hasn't jumped on Rob Van Dam. WWE, we know they've had some concerns in the past about concussion syndromes and things of that nature with RVD, and he's made the comment that he doesn't think they'll ever take him back. But I think at the Royal Rumble is like the perfect place for Rob Van Dam to make a return because he wouldn't have to get in there and do a lot to have a big impact. He would get the big pop for appearing. He would come out, again, Rolling Thunder, hit the few high spots that he's going to hit on every independent show anyways. No big threat there for a concussion. And then get him dumped out over the top rope pretty quickly and get him out of there. But think about the response from the fans. It would be awesome. There is an insane potential Rumble surprise entry. So there was rumors flying all day today about who might be a surprise entrant, and someone is in town, which makes for some very curious booking opportunities. There are two, actually. One, people were saying that there was rumors rumbling around that Hulk Hogan would make an appearance at the Rumble. Well, Hulk Hogan is signing autographs for people in Texas. He's not in Arizona. So immediately everybody was like, no, this can't possibly happen. Except for the fact that Arizona and Texas are literally a half-hour, 45-minute flight. So it is not impossible to see Hulk Hogan make an appearance, even if it's a brief one, just to get in there, throw a few punches, hit a boot to the face, and then somebody dump him over the top rope. Can you imagine the reaction of Hulk Hogan making his first appearance in a Royal Rumble since Lord knows when? I can't even remember the last time. Was it 92? So we'll definitely have to keep our eyes on that. Now, the other major one is Roman Reigns is apparently going to be in Arizona, And Roman Reigns, they just announced that he is doing something with The Rock. He's becoming more physical. People have been talking about how great he looks, the shape he's in, and now there's some rumblings. No one's reporting it as being a rumor that it's going to happen, but you have to ask the question, could Roman Reigns be a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble? I don't know how his treatment is going. We've heard estimates of between 3 months and 2 years for treatment of leukemia. I don't know. And this is a big guy getting some of the best treatment in the world. Could he really be back that fast? I don't know. If I was to make a guess, I would say no. He's probably in town for appearance sake. But can you imagine the sound of Roman Reigns walking out? He left with such an emotional high note. To come out at the Rumble would shock the world. I would not expect him to win the Rumble, but I would certainly love to see him make a return to the ring so quickly after such a scary and concerning diagnosis. Before we get to the predictions and the current betting odds, I want to throw this question out there to the listening audience. Who would you make for the most important surprise entrant this year in the Rumble? If you could take anybody from the world of professional wrestling, who would you have debut at the Royal Rumble? Come out and actually make an impact. I'm not talking about one of these guys who trots down to the ring, climbs in, and gets dumped right over the top rope. I'm talking about somebody who actually makes an impact. Yes, a lot of people say Kenny Omega. It's very clear to me his contract is not up till the 31st of January unless WWE signs some kind of agreement with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Not going to happen. However, far be it for me to say, with Triple H being as involved as he is, it is very possible that they could work out a deal for something like that. You pay enough money, especially with all the cash they've been getting lately from all these deals, and there's a very real possibility that he could come in early if WWE was going to sign him. So definitely gotta keep our eyes on it. Apparently, it's such a big rumor. There's somebody there who's going to be appearing as a special surprise entrant that it's so hot that nobody in the wrestling media will make the call on who it is because they want to see the organic reaction when this person comes out. And apparently, it's going to be something huge. It's going to blow the roof off the place. That being said, it is time for us to talk about predictions for the Royal Rumble. I will go through it in a very simple way. I will tell you the match, tell you who the favorite is right now, and then give you my prediction. We're going to start with the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. The Miz and Shane McMahon right now are the minus 300 favorite over the bar. For those who don't know what that means, it means you would have to bet $300 to win $100 on the Miz and Shane McMahon to win. The bar, if you bet $100, you could win $200. So the bar are the underdogs, the Miz and Shane McMahon are the favorites, and I concur. The Miz and Shane McMahon will win the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. I think long-term booking-wise, this is a perfect setup if Shane and The Miz win the titles for the Bludgeon Brothers to come in and reclaim their titles that they never really, they lost them, but because of injury. And they could come back in and make a real good showing, and they could be the ones to take the titles from Miz and Shane so that you could set up the Miz-Shane match at Mania, which all of us suspect is going to happen. So that's where I go with it. Miz and Shane McMahon take the championship so that they can transition the belts back to the Bludgeon Brothers in the very near future. WWE Smackdown Women's Championship. Asuka is the minus 200 favorite over Becky Lynch at a plus 150. I concur. Asuka has to win this match. Has to. 2 reasons. 1, if you're going to have Becky Lynch go to WrestleMania and challenge for the Raw Women's Championship against Ronda Rousey, if that's even a possibility. By the way, breaking news, Jake Hager just submitted his opponent in his debut at Bellator 214. Jake Hager successfully makes his debut in the Octagon at Bellator 214. Congratulations to Jake Hager. What an amazing debut for Bellator. This guy is a pure athlete. That is a guy who's got a bright future if he puts his head on straight and keeps plugging away at this goal he has. He's done it in the world of professional wrestling, and now he's started his career in mixed martial arts, landing some great shots to the face right before locking in a chokehold and putting this guy out. What an awesome showing for Jake Hager in his first time in the Octagon. I'm sorry I got excited, but I got that on my other screen, and it is a beautiful thing to see a man from the pro wrestling world, our world, you guys and mine, go into mixed martial arts and prove that WWE, wrestling in general, superstars in the world of professional wrestling are not a bunch of bums who are just faking it all the time. They're legit tough guys, and unlike CM Punk, who I think is a legitimate tough guy, much more similar to Brock Lesnar, just went out and had a dominating performance in his debut for Bellator. Congratulations, Jake Hager. I apologize for the people waiting for the, he just did the We the People salute as they put the camera on his face post-match. That's awesome. But back to the card for the Royal Rumble, I think you have to have Asuka win here to free up Becky Lynch for two things. One, to keep people dreaming of that main event at WrestleMania, Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's Championship. And the only way that happens is if Becky Lynch gets out of this match, enters the Women's Royal Rumble, and somehow finds a way to win that, which is definitely possible. So, my prediction here is with the odds makers, Asuka will win the SmackDown Women's Championship match. For the Raw Women's Championship, Ronda Rousey, the minus 700 favorite over Sasha Banks plus 400. Look, Sasha Banks is as talented as any female wrestler in the history of the business. Two things work against her. One, Ronda Rousey is going to be the first female to main event WrestleMania, and there's nothing in the world, I don't think, that's going to stop that short of drastic injury. Two, Sasha Banks coming out and making statements like, take me with you to the Revival when they were talking about wanting to, get their release. That's something that tells me that WWE right now probably wouldn't trust her as their flagship brand's women's champion. Maybe as a tag team champion with Bayley in a few weeks at the Elimination Chamber, but I don't see it happening here at the Royal Rumble. I agree with the odds makers. Ronda Rousey wins because she has to go on to main event WrestleMania. The WWE Championship. Daniel Bryan, the minus 250 favorite versus AJ Styles, the plus 170. Look, I love AJ Styles. I'm a huge fan, but it's time for somebody else to have a substantial run with that belt. And Daniel Bryan, this new character, this fickle guy, is doing a great job being a great heel on SmackDown. They need him to be champion. And AJ Styles has a date with destiny against someone like Randy Orton, maybe The Undertaker, somebody in that realm. Who knows, maybe if we cross our fingers and pray to the wrestling gods enough, AJ Styles versus Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels also in town for the Royal Rumble. There was some rumblings out there he may appear. I doubt it highly, but if he did, it would probably be to set up something with AJ Styles in the Royal Rumble. I see AJ Styles losing to Daniel Bryan and then participating in the Men's Royal Rumble where he will not win. The WWE Universal Championship, Brock Lesnar, the minus 350 favorite versus Finn Balor, the plus 225 underdog. Look, the Balor story is a wonderful one. It's heartfelt. It's something the fans want. I love it. However, Brock Lesnar is going to main event WrestleMania. He has bailed WWE out, Crown Jewel, and other opportunities. He really has delivered for Vince McMahon. For those who don't like Brock Lesnar being champion, without Brock Lesnar, we wouldn't have seen some of the things we've seen this year. We really wouldn't. And they wouldn't have the success that they had in their Saudi Arabia tours, and they have more of those coming up. I expect Brock Lesnar main events or a co-main event of WrestleMania with Ronda Rousey. I expect him to be in the main event of WrestleMania, going against the winner of the Royal Rumble, which I'm going to get to in a moment. Let's start with the Women's Royal Rumble match. By the way, so obviously I agree. Brock Lesnar wins the Universal Championship match. Women's Royal Rumble, a little harder for me. Right now, the Vegas odds makers have Charlotte Flair as the minus 200 favorite to win the Rumble. Here's my issue with that. There is nobody in the world of women's wrestling, not even Tessa Blanchard, who is tearing the world apart right now, deserves this win more than Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch should absolutely be the odds-on favorite. She's a plus 150 underdog. The next closest odds, follow me on this, for the Women's Rumble, Alexa Bliss at plus 1,000, and then Ronda Rousey at plus 1,600. Why is Ronda Rousey even listed? The only way Ronda Rousey would make it into the match is if she lost to Sasha Banks earlier in the evening. So is that the Vegas odds makers just throwing that out there to screw with you? Or is it because she legitimately has a chance to be dethroned by Sasha Banks? Sasha Banks a year and a half ago was one of the biggest draws in wrestling. And at this point, I would be shocked, but it would fall in line with a lot of the crazy things WWE's done in the last couple years. So I'm not going to say it's likely, but it's funny that she's even listed in the odds as the fourth best favorite to win. This opportunity, though, I think that WWE, Vince McMahon will get inside his own head here. He has wanted Charlotte versus Rousey for forever. He didn't plan the Becky Lynch organic birthing of this amazing The Man character, and I think Vince is probably wrestling with relinquishing his long-term plan for her, and for Charlotte to go in main event WrestleMania. I think out of respect to Ric Flair and everything Charlotte's done to put the women's division on the map, I think Charlotte will be in the main event at Mania, but here's where I think WWE screws up. I think Becky Lynch will win the Women's Royal Rumble, and she'll challenge Ronda Rousey, and Charlotte Flair, because of the way she beat Rousey down at Survivor Series, will somehow be put into the match. It'll free up Alexa Bliss to make the jump over to SmackDown, where I think she'll face Asuka. Very interesting if those changes happen, people get moved around or whatnot. I can't see Alexa Bliss in a tag team, so you got to have her in a premier program. Charlotte and Becky Lynch go into Raw to face Ronda Rousey, especially if Rousey leaves after Mania, would free up Asuka to face Alexa Bliss over on SmackDown. You could easily have it where Lynch wins the Women's Royal Rumble, Charlotte Flair gets traded to Raw for Alexa Bliss, freeing the way for the three-way match to headline WrestleMania and Alexa Bliss to go take on Asuka. The final prediction here, the Men's Royal Rumble match. Look, the odds-on favorite right now is Seth Rollins, a minus 125 favorite. Braun Strowman is second with a plus 400. John Cena, a plus 800. Drew McIntyre, a plus 800. And Finn Balor, a plus 1600. They're your top five. I have a tough time with this. I think Drew McIntyre deserves it, but I don't think anybody deserves it more than Seth Rollins. And yes, I'm a raving mark for Seth Rollins. I'm a huge Seth Rollins fan, but he legitimately carried this entire company for a significant period of time. And let's face it, he really does deserve that opportunity. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with the odds makers, even though I think it should be Drew McIntyre, because I think he's just such a hot commodity right now. I'm going to go with Seth Rollins winning the Royal Rumble and going on to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I also think that means that Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre will end up facing each other at Mania as well. They've never had closure to their little split up of their triad from back in October and November. So that would be a great place to have that match. So that is the predictions. That's our predictions and the betting odds for the show. I hope you guys, if you love them, great. If you hate them, also great. Do me a favor, pop into YouTube or whatever service you're using and give me a comment. Tell me what you like or don't like about the predictions. Tell me what your predictions are. Let me know who you think is going to win every single one of these matches. If you are online now, make sure you check out Bellator 214, still going on. They're getting ready to crown the winner of the Heavyweight Grand Prix. The Bellator Heavyweight Championship is about to be decided. Ryan Bader is about to take on Fedor Emelianenko. It's a match that is made in heaven for mixed martial arts fans outside of the UFC umbrella. These two, it should be a great fight. It's either going to be a quick knockout, which I would expect would be a win for Fedor, or if it's a longer match, I expect Ryan Bader to take down Emelianenko. So definitely check that out if you're a mixed martial arts fan. Otherwise, that's all the time I have for this episode. Check back with us next episode where we'll run down all the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, goes out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all the music and sound effects used in our show. I want to throw a special shout out there to Ejanaya, one of my latest and greatest followers, sends me comments all the time. Ejanaya, you're wonderful, and that's a shout out to you. Today's podcast was sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this new game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen to pick up your copy today. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. This guy gives great pricing, online, shipped directly to your home. If you're looking for your next career move and you're considering college, university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at FroLifePlanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. By the way, don't want to forget to give him a shout out. I see my buddy John, the sports guy, tuning in from Odessa, Texas. John, I didn't forget about you. He actually is hoping that Booker T is one of the surprise entrants. Would not surprise me. He's going to be getting in the ring for Reality of Wrestling. I would love to see Booker T make another appearance. So got to throw that in there. John, you're awesome as always. By the way, I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank everybody for taking a few moments to tune in this evening. If you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, make sure you check out www.tsj101sports.com for their latest articles on the world of professional wrestling, or go to my vlog or blog on frowrestling.com. Click on In Fro's Corner. That's where you'll find my latest pieces, and you can go through anything that I've got going up there in the world of professional wrestling. Until next time, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, spread the word, get us to 1,500 subscribers, and we will see you guys, talk to you guys after the Royal Rumble tomorrow night. We're pulling for Seth Rollins. We're pulling for Becky Lynch. Hopefully, we've predicted correctly. Take care and have a great night, everybody.